So earlier you had said that after doing your investigations and research and all of this legal work for Robert Kennedy's group, that I believe you mentioned that you made some dietary changes. Did you make any changes?
I did. Well, I changed a lot because I was buying, eggs. Pardon me. I was buying eggs and dairy products without too much thought when I first started. I wasn't eating meat, but I was buying eggs and dairy products at grocery stores and not worrying too much about where it came from. After learning the way that egg-laying hens live in this country, and after learning more about dairies and the confinement method of keeping animals totally confined, keeping the cows totally confined in dairies, I realized that my own money was supporting factory farming. So I started looking for eggs and for milk and cheese that were from places that were not factory farms. And I realized that just going to the grocery store was not the best way to make that change, because even though you could buy organic things, and that is what I do if I don't have any other option, but organic isn't perfect either, and a lot of the organic operations look a lot like factory farms. So what I try to do in my own purchasing is I try as much as possible to buy things at places like farmers markets and other smaller, a lot of beautiful small stores, places like Buy Right in San Francisco, offer food that really comes from traditional farms. And so you can get cheese and milk that comes from cows that were really out on grass. And you can get eggs from hens that were out in pasture. And we, for our own eggs, we actually found a neighbor. And I know this sounds kind of crazy to people. In fact, I've heard my book has been criticized sometimes by suggesting that, because some people feel that's really unrealistic. But I don't agree with that, because I've actually, just in the last 2 years, we've had 2 friends that started up their own egg-laying flock in their backyards. And I've also, I did some blogging about having an egg-laying hen flock. And one woman who responded to that was, I believe, in Atlanta, and she said they had established a backyard hen flock organization, and within about 2 years they had almost 500 members. So, this is something that people are starting to do, and they can do. And if you can't start your own egg-laying flock, you can find a friend or a neighbor that is doing it. It's not as hard as people think it is. And then you can get these amazing eggs that not only are healthier and are raised in a more humane way, but they're infinitely better tasting. And you can also tell the difference in dairy products too. When you actually get milk from cows that were out on grass and you drink that milk, you can taste the difference. So for me, it's been something I've really enjoyed doing, is finding these better food products. And they do cost more, but in order to compensate for that, I've reduced my consumption a little bit. And I've also just decided that it's worth the money.
It's almost like the true cost of food, isn't it? I mean, it's the ethical cost of food.
It really, we've gotten used to, I talk about in Righteous Porkchop, I talk about the fact that in the United States we pay less than 10% of our income toward our food. And it's really atypical that most countries in the world pay a much higher percentage of their total budget towards food. And they're generally getting healthier food than we have in this country, as far as how much chemicals and hormones and so forth are in their food. And in my view, we're seeing the result on a national level of the fact that we're eating such unhealthy food. We're seeing a very high number of cases of lots of diseases that are associated with bad diets. And there's, diabetes is one, obesity is now at epidemic levels in this country, and especially among children, so the up and coming generation. And so we're just not, we're not connecting in this country food and health. And I think that when we start paying more for our food, shifting our dollars away from other things and towards food, we're going to be eating healthier food. And frankly, if we ate less food as a nation, that would probably be a good thing for our health too. So, the idea of budgeting your money in such a way that you're spending a higher percentage of your income on food and you're getting better food and you're buying less food, and especially less in the way of animal products, you can continue to, without busting your bank, you can actually really shift the way you're eating.
Excellent. Thank you.
I think it's such an important point.